Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with scones. Or, is they're pronounced in Scotland, scone. Scone. Sounds weird. I'm going to say scone. And by the way, I've never made these before, so I have no idea how good these came out, although I thought they came out really good. So very simple recipe: flour, salt, and some baking powder. Now you can sift that flour baking powder mixture if you want, or you can just whisk it up, same difference. And at this point I realized, oh yeah, there's sugar in it too, so I threw some sugar in. Then we're going to cut in with our pastry cutter, our pastry blender, some ice cold butter. If you only remember two things from this video, those two things are: always keep your butter in the freezer before you cut it into flour, and when playing blackjack, always split eighths. I know that was kind of random, but I'm going to Vegas for a food show in a couple weeks. Once that's cut in to the consistency of coarse crumbs, see that? Close up for you. All right, coarse crumbs, stop. That's perfect. We're going to pour in our liquid ingredients, which is milk and sour cream. I'm going to dump in some currants. By the way, you're going to read on the blog why I added the currants at that point and not at the end, like many recipes call for. Anyway, take the tip of a fork and stir that together. The only way to screw up a recipe like this is to overmix it. So as soon as it comes together, stop. There's going to be some spots that are a little damp. There's going to be some spots that are a little dry. That's fine. By the way, you can just spoon this right onto a sheet pan and go for kind of a round, craggly, irregular shape, which is a very common way to do it in the scone making community. But I'm going to go kind of with a biscuit approach here. I'm going to transfer the mixture onto a floured board. So I'm going to flatten that out into a kind of a square shape. Whenever you work with these kind of doughs, biscuit doughs, scone doughs, make sure you have flour on your fingers, flour on the board, but only enough to keep it from sticky. Not too much flour. I'm going to give it the tri-fold I usually do with a biscuit dough, which I think helps the texture, although, like many of my theories, I can't prove it. Once I have it flattened out into a rectangle, I'm going to cut it into 8 squares. For me, it was about 3/4 of an inch thick. You can make them thicker if you want. And you know what? I got to be honest. Another reason I made these into squares, I was going to build this little scone henge, but I didn't. Anyway, I'm going to throw it on a silicone-lined baking sheet. I'm going to give it an egg wash, which is just 1 beaten egg with a tiny splash of milk, a little bit of white sugar on top. That's going to go in a 400-degree oven for about 15 minutes, depends on the size, until they're golden brown. Make sure you let them cool a little bit before tearing into them. So I left them on the tray for a minute, transferred them onto a cooling rack, let them cool to just warm, and like I said, I hadn't made these before, so I was kind of nervous. Or, as nervous as you can get making scones. But when I broke into that thing, it was perfect. I don't really eat scones, but I think they were perfect. Very tender, very moist, really, really delicious. So for whatever reason, I've had a bunch of scone requests lately, so I thought I'd give it a whirl, and I was very happy with how these came out. These are fantastic served with any kind of jam or marmalade, and of course, clotted cream. Having said that, I've never had clotted cream, nor do I know what it is. But anyway, it is really fantastic with clotted cream, so give it a try. By the way, make sure you check the post. I'm going to have some links to some of my favorite food bloggers' versions of scones, so don't miss that. All the ingredients will be on the site. Ingredients are critical. Make sure you check that out. And as always, enjoy.